If you're willing to have those tough conversations and get them priced according to market, you're going to be there for a while. There's just that much inventory. They're willing to walk away. Welcome to this week's episode of the Business of Real Estate podcast with Lynn, Hoffmann, and Eric Johnson. Today, we're talking all about the market, the 2026 market. Man, what a different market this is for majority of realtors out there who haven't experienced this. Lynn, we haven't seen this type of market in a while. Right? We were talking about it. It was like 2008 was kind of, but not sort of. We have to go back into the 90s. And so for a lot 90s. Of these realtors, they're not used to this.
No, anybody that's only had a license for 10 to 15 years has not really experienced this. So it's different, but it's a great time.
Oh, it is. It is. It's just, I think, especially those who got into the market, say, back in 2020, 2021, we saw a lot of people come in. They basically, let's face it, 21, 22 was like, you were just an order taker.
Yes.
For the majority of it. You really didn't have to work at it, but now people have to work.
Well, they have to be skilled. I'm going to start with that. You're right. They were order takers, and that really wasn't a healthy economy. It truly wasn't. And it had its own set of problems. So, of course, there was going to be a correction. And now, 2025 and then 2026, I think we're coming out the other side of it. I really feel that we're going to have a better market this year than last year, but we're still feeling those effects from 2021 and 2022.
Huge. Like we had that peak at the beginning of 22. We saw prices drop, in some cases, 200, 300,000 in a year in value. I mean, that was huge. And those people, the interesting thing, we did a economic update, if you will, with our commercial partner and their chief economist, and we were asking, like, there's like 1.6 to 1.8 million mortgages due, and it was like half of them were from 2003, had that 3-year, and then the others were from 2001, and so the one group is like, yay, and the other group is like, oh no. So, and it's interesting seeing them feeling that pinch and going, hey, maybe they have to sell. I know we've seen an increase in, bank sales. People not being able to keep it. But let's talk about what it takes to be an agent in this type of market. Because as you said, you have to be somewhat skilled.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. I had a couple of things I wanted to say about what you did there. I think that the pricing changed, but the pricing was unrealistic in 2021 and 2022. It was way out of whack. It really was. I think we had a dip down, as you always do. The pendulum goes one way hard, and then it swings back the other, and then hopefully it settles somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
And I think that 2026 is going to be the somewhere in the middle. That said, because of the people that took mortgages, 5-year mortgages in 2020 or 2021, or the 3s in 2023, you've got some really tough conversations. You need educated conversations with the client. The pricing is not going to be the same as it was, but so much of this could be rectified by people spending wiser, taking better care of their finances. I see so many agents when they pull the mortgage information about the property that they're either buying or listing, they don't understand how the person got into that much trouble. Well, we get into that trouble because we've used our homes as an ATM machine.
Yep.
Absolutely, completely. To live the lifestyle that we really couldn't substantiate, and this is how we got into this problem. So, at this point, I really believe a good agent needs a real good friend that's either a banker lender or a mortgage broker lender. And I think they should be listening to all the things that they have to say, what their trends are, what they're seeing, how they might be able to give good advice to their client to get them in a position to be able to sell. And that means, first and foremost, pricing properly.
Oh, yes. Huge.
So very strong people skills, very strong educational skills, a very strong understanding of what the market is really at, not what the client hopes and dreams and prays that it's at, because that has absolutely no bearing on the market at all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of agents are afraid to have those difficult conversations.
100%.
They're afraid to lose the deal
100%.
versus the top agents. I know the top agents that I deal with in my offices, they're willing to walk away and saying, you're not
Absolutely.
being realistic. I'm not wasting my time and money here.
I've given that advice very recently to several of my agents. I've just said to them, look, you've pulled the parcel abstract, you know where they're at, you know what the commissions need to be for both sides. There'll always be something that you don't expect. Why would you take this on? Why do you want to do this? You'd be better to give them other advice, which might mean to take a private mortgage to try to hold on to it for a year, get themselves regrouped, reorganized, and then go back and help them sell the house. But right now, selling it when it's underwater and doing assignments on condos where the people, the buyer number one, is actually losing money, it's not good.
No.
And if an agent can't articulate and understand all those nuances about selling a power of sale or helping a client who's in that position to do the right thing, they're going to be lost. And they're also going to be working for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's amazing how many people don't look at that and saying, there may be nothing there. And they may not be able to close either.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We've seen a lot where the appraisals, you know, they go to do an appraisal and, hey, you bought it for this, but, and it goes back to, we were saying, I wrote down some quotes beforehand, but, you know, the one thing I had written down was just that the fact that the market doesn't care what you think your home is worth, Mr. Seller. It's concerned with what buyers are willing to pay. And just because you overpaid back when, and like you said, there was a big correction, and I think we are, you know, we're starting to see things sort of plateau, and there's been some predictions that we're going to see a bit of an increase, maybe 2 to 3% in pricing over the course of this year. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But I also think that, and it's funny because anytime we go out shopping, my wife is always like, tell me there's a recession. There's so many people out there, but I think the thing is people are looking for the deals. They're looking for the outlets. They're looking for the bargains. And as much as they are still spending, they're looking for that deal, and they're not willing to pay that top price anymore. The majority of people.
I'm going to change that wording a little bit.
Sure.
The problem is they're looking for value.
Yes.
They're actually looking for not just the best deal, they're looking for the best value for the money that they're going to spend.
Yep.
But I just want to go back one little step. I've had two people this week, two agents whose property they were looking to purchase for their clients did not appraise. And they went back and did a second appraisal on it, and that came in worse. And I cautioned about that because I've had that happen in my lifetime where that's happened. And what the agents don't seem to understand, this is why you need a good friend that's a mortgage person that can help you get educated. The buyer would have to pick up that difference that the bank was not willing to lend to. So this case, it was $250,000 difference in the price of the home that it appraised short. Now, it appraised short, in my humble estimation, because they had spent several $100,000 on a backyard. Backyards are not where the value's at for the appraisal. And again, coming back to what's the best deal, best value, kitchens, bathrooms, square footage, garages, those are important. 300 grand in a backyard is not where the money is. So all these things, if you're talking to and have the ability to work with both know appraisers, you should know that too. Have some conversations with them and also have some conversations with your bank team members, you'll be in better shape because you're absolutely right. Clients are looking for the best value, best condition, always best location. If those things all work, there's no problem.
Yeah, and they want something that they don't have to do a lot of work in.
Exactly.
So, you know, as we say, if you're priced close to the market, you're priced very well, and you show very well, they're going pretty quick. Those things are going pretty quick.
By quick, within a couple of weeks.
Oh, we've had some even within a week, like within a few days. At least down in Niagara, we've had some go fairly quickly. We're starting to see some multiple offers on a couple of properties.
I have to.
Which is good. You know, the other thing, and we talked about this before we started filming, was to your point, is that upgrades add appeal, not a permission to overprice or up the price.
Right.
Because, you know, I say this all the time. It's like here in Canada, we have Petro-Canada and Esso. They used to do all these ads and commercials talking about, hey, our gas is made specifically for Canadian winters. It's a better gas. And I say to people, the gas station analogy is the fact that people don't care. They're just looking at what's the price. Gas is gas to them.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to agents is that for the majority of people, there is a luxury market. There is a market that does concern itself with labels. But most people don't care whether it's quartz or marble. Stone is stone.
Stone is stone.
I want a stone island and I want stainless steel appliances. I don't care what the brand. But you know what? If you have that high brand or you have marble, that's an appeal. But they're looking for value, so I'm not willing to pay extra for that.
It might get you a few dollars more, but you're absolutely
Not
right.
what it costs.
Not what it costs.
Not what
so,
it cost.
As a person that likes to renovate and do stuff in her own home, I've learned some of this the hard way. You also learn where the best money is spent and the improvement. So just to use an example, if you did a 2,400 square foot home and you did all light oak, hardwood flooring, wide plank, really high-end expensive, that's probably going to cost you double what the same look in a luxury vinyl would cost. And it hit home to me with one property because people would come in and they were walking on the real deal. And then I had them walking on the downstairs, which was the same look, but in vinyl.
Yep.
No one knew the difference. Nobody except for me who paid the bill for it, right? I noticed the difference. But try to articulate that to a family that wants to buy it. They don't want to pay 50 grand more because vainly I wanted the real deal on the floor. They both had the same functionality. They were both beautiful. Actually, one is probably a little more practical than the other, truth be told. But to try to articulate that to a buyer when they're just saying, look, this house is $200,000 more than the one down the street, and I'm not seeing the difference.
Yep.
But they will see a difference in square footage, in kitchens, in the practical things. So these are conversations that an agent needs to know how to speak to when they're talking to their client and they're ready to put that house up for sale. There's some really tough conversations to be had. And one of the things I teach when I'm coaching people is that you have to be prepared to walk away from a deal for the best interest of everybody, right? Sometimes it's the right thing to do to just let it go and say, no, I don't want to put you through this pain of 90 days being overpriced. Then you become stigmatized and we're not selling your house and we're dumping your house later. So just do it right the first time, but understand all these things that you're trying to explain to them.
Yeah, and I think, you use the word dumping it later. It's like when you overprice it and you go too long, those homes do end up selling, but
below market.
Below what
market
they could have gotten.
Every time.
What they could have gotten, right? So
every time.
And I think you and I are both big on this. Well, all of us are in terms of our leadership team, but we always talk about education. And you got to educate the consumer. And I think, if you're an agent out there, putting out some content, educating people is one of the best things you can do, because especially when you go to have that conversation, I say to everybody, if I don't let the world know about this, like if I'm not talking about it, and then the first time you hear it from my lips is when I'm in front of you, you're thinking, oh, you're just saying this to get the sale. Yeah. But if they've seen your content and you've been talking about this, it's not the first time they've heard it. They know this is what you believe in, and they chose you to work with anyways. But I think it's important that there is a lot of that education going on.
We got to start one place first before that. You have to educate yourself.
Oh, for sure.
That's the first trick. And that's where a lot of agents do fall down. They don't want to take the time or invest the time and money in themselves to learn about these things. And they need to.
Oh, for sure.
Because then you can educate. You can't educate from an uneducated position. And you need to know that stuff yourself and then go and speak to the client in, truly from the best position. Your goal is to help them understand what they really need to sell the property for, and it obviously may not be what they want. And maybe it's just not time to sell the house. Maybe it's time for them to, like I said, do some refinancing, do some other things to get themselves in a better position to sell their house. When they come to you and say, we want to get this, or we need to get this, the red bells should go off. You're in trouble already.
Yep.
Because you need to measure their motivation to sell, and their motivation to sell cannot be, well, we have to get this.
Yeah.
It's not a good motivation.
No.
And everybody's going to lose.
Notice
in
the
that
red
one.
flags.
Notice the red flags.
But you're right, in terms of education, I know for my agents down in Niagara, and we were talking about, the situation happening in Toronto. It was interesting to me how many agents that I would talk to that didn't know about the different tax rates.
Exactly.
And, I have, for example, when I look in the area in Niagara, smaller market, but we have, it was interesting. I did a thing for $500,000 appraised value. And to see the difference in the different cities. And it was interesting because the high-end city where all the luxury, like Niagara on the Lake, it was, $5,000 and something a year in taxes. But if I got into like Port Colborne or small, it was like $10,000. Like people, when I start showing them the numbers, they didn't understand that. And it's like, when you're working with a buyer, like how much is that going to cost you? And then we were talking just before about Toronto, and, the Toronto market, like Toronto, has that double land transfer tax. So you're already paying extra taxes to buy that property.
Double what you pay here or in Niagara.
Anywhere else in Ontario.
Right.
And then we were talking about the luxury tax, and we looked it up to say, hey, coming in April, it's going up a little bit.
It's been around for a while, but it's going up again. Yeah.
And it was over 4%, like at the low end, which was like 3 million to 5 million.
Yeah.
That adds quite a bit.
Well,
and that's a sticker shock if you have somebody looking to move to Toronto and they don't know about it and you don't know about it. Man, do you look foolish.
But it's also, when you do know about it, it's such a great tool to say to them, look, I work and practice in the Niagara region or the Burlington, Oakville region, whatever. This is what you'd be saving if you bought the equivalent $3 million house here. This is how much you're saving. You're saving one whole set of land transfer and the 3%, 4% on that price point.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It
What
is.
a great reason. If they're not in love or tied to being in Toronto, if they can move out of Toronto, then what a great way to show them how much more value they can get for their money. And that's what I just wrote down, where the buyer's money goes further. I was looking today in Google, top 20 places to retire in Canada. 19 were in BC, and one was in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
So that tells you a lot. But the client is doing the same thing when they're buying. They're dropping a pin in the map and going, I can go 20 kilometers in any of those directions. Where am I going to get the best value? And the agent should know where that is.
Oh, huge. It was, I know for when I went looking, and it was interesting because we were thinking maybe a year, and we bought, like we've been in our place just over a year now. And I was looking at condos in the area, and I came across this new build in a little town, and it was interesting where their mill rate was just under 2%, like around 1.9. And versus where I was in Burlington, it was like 0.8 something and really low. And what a difference, because there was this brand new condo, and I know somebody who bought, and it was like when they got their paperwork, it was just over 600,000, and because it was almost 2%, the property taxes were going to be about 12,000 for the year.
Yeah.
And going, oh my good Lord, like if you bought a resale, it's not assessed, like because it was new, they were assessing near that purchase price versus the other ones were like probably assessed at 200,000 and, getting a hell of a deal on taxes. And like you said,
I wonder
it's
how many
educating.
the agent themselves know that.
Oh, a lot of them, when I start talking about it, they're surprised, they're shocked.
Right.
And I think you were mentioning you had an agent that had client looking at 20 million plus
I got one that
homes.
he's looking at a 27 million and a 24 million.
Yeah,
in Toronto.
but the extra taxes were
Two
going to be
point six million in taxes, extra.
extra. That's crazy.
So, I mean, obviously, he's got a big budget. That's great. But still, money is money, and that's a lot of money. So, in Oakville, we do have 20 million plus properties. I think they do in Niagara on the Lake, in the Niagara area as well. They're scattered all over the place. So, 2.6 savings, that's a lot.
It can go a lot. And I think that's, one of the things that I heard, and one of the things I'm saying to people keep an eye on is when that does go into effect, when they do raise it, we know that the lower threshold is that 3 to 5. That's where they're starting. That's sort of a regular priced home, if you will, for Toronto, downtown Toronto. But there's going to be some people.
Even downtown Burlington, Oakville, $3 million doesn't even qualify in Oakville as a luxury residence.
Yeah.
And Burlington's darn close. So you're going to pay a luxury tax on anything that's $3 million and above in Toronto, and you're not even really living in a luxury house.
Yeah. So where you might see some of those people saying, "Hey, remember we said that they're looking for value."
Yes.
They may be looking for value, going, "Hey, if I move just a little bit out, I go into Mississauga."
Yeah.
So now what happens is you have more people competing for those houses.
Right.
It squeezes some people, and we start seeing that domino effect. Whether you're going towards the Barrie area, Oshawa, like outside of Toronto, it spreads out. But for as far as our brokerage is concerned, like we're talking coming into Burlington, Golden Horseshoe area down to the Niagara Way, but it'll be a bit of a domino effect. And I think it's important that agents keep an eye on that and just look at the numbers and keep a look at the market to see what is happening. It may or may not. I don't know.
It's done. That's a done thing. And again, educating the agent. So maybe each agent should have a little cheat sheet in their pocket that says, okay, $3 million in Toronto's costing you this in extra taxes. $3 million in Oakville, this. $3 million in Burlington, this. And also, the further you go west, the more value you get just for the price point.
Yes.
Never mind the taxes on top of that.
Sure.
So again, there's so much education an agent can do. New agents coming in have a huge task because they need to understand what makes a house $3 million in Oakville and the same house is 2.4 in Burlington.
Yep.
Like they just need to know. When I first started into real estate, I had lived in Oakville for a lot of my time, and I'd also lived in Burlington a lot of my time. And I got to tell you, when I started looking at these bungalows that, in my mind, were tear downs or not very nice homes in Oakville, and they were $5 to $1 million more than the same thing in Burlington, I had a while figuring that out. But it is what it is.
Yep.
And that's the nuances that each agent should know about the areas that they want to trade in. That's why people are always saying use a local realtor. That's the reason. But in this day and age, you don't have to because you can research it.
But
if you take the time.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of realtors that don't, and that when we see them coming from out of town and they're used to high prices, they're like, "Oh, no problem."
Yeah.
Because I remember when my first home back in like late 90s, and I remember townhomes were starting. We're looking at a beginner home, and townhomes were starting at $200,000 in the Mississauga area. We were moving towards Guelph, Fergus, and in Fergus, I could get a townhome for $80,000. I think I bought a 2-story, 1,500 square foot home for $150,000. Meanwhile, in Toronto, I could get my townhomes were starting at $2 million.
Yeah.
We have homes in Niagara right now that are like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. You can find those homes you just can't find elsewhere, but it's a bit of a drive to get where you need to be. But again, it's education. Where does your money go? And I think that if you are working with a buyer, they are looking for value. There's the inventory is still a good number, still slightly elevated. In certain parts. It's a micro market.
There's micro, you're right.
Micro markets.
Within each market.
The
areas within Burlington, areas within Oakville, areas within Hamilton, all got their own little market going on.
And wherever you are in Ontario, like we had on Nathan Morissette one of our managers, who's also the realtor in residence for RIA, he's been traveling, and he was telling me, like, he was Thunder Bay, Sudbury. He goes, those people, it's still going. Multiple offers, like, they are a booming market. So it really depends on where you are. And
That's right.
you know, like, if you're an agent, you obviously have to take into account what is happening in your market. But this is a great time to educate yourself and educate people. They are looking for good value, but you have to have those honest conversations. And even just say, look, if you were a buyer, would you pay that price for your home?
Well, that's a really interesting thing you say that, because on so many levels, you can have a buyer, say you've been in their home, you know what their home looks like, and you take them into homes that are, in your opinion, better than what they have. They don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Because the bump on the wall and the ding in the wall and the paint that's not finished in their own house, they're way more critical when they go out to buy a house. They're like turn into two different people. Right?
Yes, they do.
They just do. So they're extraordinarily picky when they're going out to buy. And you always need to put them back in the other person's shoes.
Yes.
I think if you can say, well, how would you feel about this if you were selling your house? How would you feel about these comments you're making? Or how would you feel about these things? So put them back in the other person's shoes is always a great way to do it. Helps people understand faster.
So, yeah, I mean, as much as it is definitely a game changer, I think if you're not willing to have the difficult conversations, you gotta, get your listings for like 6 months, because you're gonna be listing for a while if you go by the seller wanting their price. But if you're willing to have those tough conversations and get them priced according to market, we are seeing those homes sell. If they show well, they're priced well, they're going. If not, you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
There's just that much inventory.
We run into agents who buy the listing, who don't care if it's overpriced because they just want another listing, and they're prepared to have those conversations for 6 months. You get that. But what I believe in is that an agent has enough leads in his own or her own pipeline. They have enough choice. That's what prospecting is about. That's what getting other buyers and other people in your pipeline is about. It gives you choices. So you don't have to accept that listing that has no motivation, no true motivation, and is overpriced. You don't have to take it. Or if it's a power of sale, you don't have to take that if you don't want to. If you know that it's going to result in no income for both the listing side and the selling side, and potentially other issues coming up, walk away from it. But to do that, it's easy for me to sit here and say that. It's like, what do you call it? Sunday couch coaching.
But like you said, you have to put yourself in the position to have the choice.
Right. And that means constantly looking for new leads and so forth, and being very educated about what you're really facing. I have been surprised in the last couple of weeks, number of agents that are venturing into power of sales that absolutely do not understand how it works. And each situation can be different based on the lender. So my constant thing is, well, call them. Call the lender. Ask them how they're handling this. What's the procedure? What's their paperwork? When are they taking offers? How long just for the love of God, call them. Don't call me. Call them and ask. And I'll help you walk through it. But they don't know what to expect. And this is another area where I think that they need to get themselves up to speed. So they know what they're dealing with here, because this is a lot of work, and sometimes it's a lot of work for nothing. And I'm sure they've got better things to do.
So the key here is education. Educate yourself, educate your database. And I think it's the conversations I've had, it's interesting where I feel a lot of agents don't want to have conversations.
They don't.
They're looking for that online. They're looking for that quick fix. And I'm saying, no, you just need to have your goal. Like, if you're not having them, your goal should initially be try to have 5 conversations every single day. If you have at least 5 to start with.
You need some difficult ones in there too. Don't just pick all the airy-fairy ones.
Oh, no, for sure.
Some real conversations.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, real conversations. I just mean, but a lot of people aren't having those conversations.
No, they're not.
The number of people who ask me about online stuff versus, well, what about the people you already know that know, like, and trust you? What about them? Well, it's not working. they're expecting, I think people are going in asking them if they're looking to buy or sell. And it's like, it's not about them. No. Keep in mind that 90% of the people are not buying or selling. There's only a few hundred homes get sold in each city, but there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of homes. So the thing is, they might know of the person who's thinking of buying or selling.
Who do you know?
Exactly.
That's thinking of, I know you're not leaving, you're going out in a pine box. I get it. But you know somebody. Who do you know?
Yeah.
That could use the level of services that I provide and the trust and the hard work that I would provide them. I got to tell you, a number I ran across the other day in training a class was that 68% of the market perceived indifference from their agent. The reason why? Because nobody calls them.
Yeah.
68% think that you're indifferent to their business because you don't call or follow up with them. It is not hard to make a call.
It is amazing to me how many agents I would deem to be transactional agents because they don't follow up.
There's way more transactional than there is relational. And one of the reasons is it's uncomfortable. So one of the things that I've had to struggle with in my life is that when somebody complains at me or tells me a story and they're complaining, I think I have to fix it. It's just in my nature. I want to fix it. No, you don't have to fix it, folks. You just have to listen to it and be empathetic and understand. Because they're complaining that their roof leaked a month after they moved in, doesn't mean they're looking for you to give them a new roof. Yeah. They're just talking to you. So what you can do with that talk is suggest things to them, be empathetic, do what you can, but they're not blaming you for that.
Yeah.
Just listen. But agents don't call back because they're afraid
yes.
that something might have gone wrong. And
afraid of bad news.
They're afraid of bad news. Well, I'm going to tell you, the more you deal with bad news head on, the more you take ownership when it's your fault, the more you help them even when you don't have to, the longer and the better your relationship will be. And they'll tell their 266 friends that you're a great realtor.
Yeah, and if you delay it and you don't put it, you keep putting it off,
it just gets
becomes worse and worse.
It's like that elephant under the rug. It just explodes at some point.
Yeah.
Or they don't refer you, they don't call you, but it's actually the agent's responsibility to call. And I just thought that was hilariously funny that 68% of the population believes their realtor's indifferent to them. After all that hard work you do.
Yep.
After all that time you spend with them. To walk away and not call them.
Yep. Well, and you know, what you also see, and it was interesting, as we're talking about this market and just sort of wrapping up a little bit, we talked before about, you know, we always say like half of our agents had their best year ever and the others had their worst year. It seemed last year in 2025.
Well, there's always the 80-20 rule.
No, for sure.
Always.
And what was interesting was, and we came across, my wife and I there's a top real estate speaker in the U.S., right. And we caught his, he put out some information. It was really interesting where it was 71.6% of realtors in the U.S., and this was the National Association of Realtors put this out, said 71.6% of the realtors in the U.S. did not sell one home last year. And that's huge. And that tells me that there's a lot of people not having conversations, afraid to talk to people, or just, okay, you know, the other thing is that
they
mindset.
Don't know the answer.
That limiting belief is, oh, well, these two are sitting on the fence, so everybody else is sitting on, and not going after it because there were still homes being sold.
See, but Eric, that's, I mean, look,
mindset.
If I put my coaching hat, but everything is mindset.
Oh, huge.
Everything is mindset. If you can't visualize doing it and visualize success, you will have no success.
Yeah.
But they're given themselves permission. They've used an excuse.
To give up.
They've given themselves permission to give up. And so, God bless you. I mean, let them just do that because the other agents are right there, the good ones, are there making the calls, staying in touch, and helping them through those difficult situations. But it's so funny. I get people calling me, say, the market's bad. Oh, really? Is it? Hadn't noticed that.
Because the good ones are doubling down.
Yes.
And they're having more conversations, and they're consistent in their efforts.
Yes.
To no matter what, even when they are, you know, servicing their clients' needs in terms of buying and selling homes, they're still out there doing lead generation.
Have to be.
They're still doing that stuff. And so they're having the conversations. And that's the big difference. I mean, look, no matter what the market is, you guys just need to have conversations. Need to have a lot of conversations with people, and you got to be consistent in it, and you got to follow up.
Absolutely.
And if you do that and you deliver value, we talk about people are buying value, but you also have to deliver value.
You have to deliver value.
Right?
Yeah.
Deliver some education, deliver value, but be consistent in the conversations. Things will happen.
They are happening.
Oh, I know.
But there's 80% of the people don't realize that there's stuff going on. Because the 20% that know what they're doing and are consistent and keep making
Doing
those
it
difficult,
well.
they're doing it well. And you're absolutely right. I've got some agents that had one of their best years ever last year. And then I got others that are complaining at me there's no market. It's dead. Okay. Right? They're not seeing
sure.
it. And that's the hardest part
Yeah, and it's interesting.
for me.
Because I had one agent that closed 7 deals in January.
I've already had one that did that the first week.
Right? And they're like, and everybody else is saying, well, nothing's moving. What?
Okay, one of our agents, and I won't say his name, but one of our agents made a post the other day. And I'm always talking about the tip of the iceberg, but I thought his post was really good. There was a lake, and there's a hole in the lake, and the guy's sitting there with his line in the hole. And it says something to the effect, the market looks like it's frozen, but then underneath there was all these fish swimming around.
Yep.
There's all this activity underneath. So it looks like it's frozen, but it's like super busy underneath.
Yep.
It's up to you to figure out where that super busy underneath is
Yep.
and dig it out and be smart about it. So I think a lot of people are using the cold weather and the numbers and so as a reason not to fish. You got to fish.
And it may be that your fishing hole
Is different.
is a little different than the one just a little bit down the road. And don't be afraid to go down the road
Absolutely.
where the market is happening. So
Absolutely. Or look for the people with the motivation.
I think all agents have to treat it as there's all these little mini markets, and you better figure out which one you're in. And if the one beside you or one two over is busy, then go there, spend some time. You probably know people in that area. Start having conversations, because if that market is moving and yours isn't, don't just take that, oh, I'll give up and I'll just, no, keep working.
We
will come out of this.
All joking as we always do, and year over year historically. I mean, my aunt bought a property on Lakeshore in Oakville back in the '60s for $17,000, right on the lake. You couldn't touch that house now for $6 million.
Yep.
You couldn't even touch it, right? That's not that long. It's still in my lifetime.
Yep.
That change. It's not going to go back to where it was like in the 1990s. It's not. Did it go down a bit? Yes. It's called a correction.
Yep.
And the problem with humans is we've been treating our house as an investment. So we plant it in 2021, and then we're pulling it out of the ground, looking to see how far it's grown. And it hasn't, because you haven't given it enough time.
Yep.
But if you keep it 5, 10, 15 years, it's going to really do very well for you. Let's put it that way. But if you pull it out of the ground and sell it every year, you might get stuck.
Yeah.
And if you've overspent on it, you might get stuck. So just let things be a little while. Just watch for those things, but basically just get educated, understand it's still the best asset that people can have. They just need to be a little bit more patient with it, and this curve is changing. It's going to change again. My fear is that it's going to change back to 2021 if the demand becomes higher than the inventory on the market.
Yeah.
And I'm watching some areas, they only have 15 houses on the market right now
Yeah.
in a whole area. That's not a lot of choice.
No.
So
No.
that will start to build demand again.
Yeah.
We don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, and again, it's those mini markets. Just keep
Yes.
your eyes on. So,
Yeah.
hopefully we've given you a bit of information, in this episode. But I think the big thing is educate yourself, educate the consumers out there, show yourself as somebody who's knowledgeable. Let them know things that they probably haven't heard from their realtor, because the majority of realtors, we've come across a lot, even within our brokerage, that are not aware of some of the things that are going on. Yeah. They might know how many listings and list to sell ratio, whatever, but they don't know about the taxes or what's happening and how that can affect their purchase. So educate yourself, and really follow up. This is the perfect time. Yeah, there's been a lot of people that waited. Yes, there's been a lot of chaos in the world and in the economy where people are not quite sure what to do, but people are still buying homes.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking for value, and you got to show them that value. And so just have lots of conversations, and you'll be amazed at how much business starts coming your way the more conversations you have.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, right,
Yeah,
Lynn?
yeah, it is.
So we thank you for joining us on this week's episode and look forward to seeing you the next week on the Business and Real Estate Podcast with Lynn Hoffmann and Eric Johnson.